On the afternoon of October 21, 2025, rush hour traffic moved steadily along the westbound Interstate 10 freeway near Ontario, California. Commuters headed home from work, families traveled to appointments, and the familiar rhythm of Southern California freeway life played out beneath clear autumn skies. Just east of the Interstate 15 interchange, near the Milliken off-ramp, traffic began to slow. Brake lights flashed red as vehicles ahead decelerated, a routine occurrence on one of the region's busiest corridors. But at approximately 1:10 p.m., a Freightliner semi-truck traveling at high speed failed to slow down. Eyewitnesses watched in horror as the massive vehicle barreled forward, showing no signs of braking, no attempt to stop. Jason Calmoulet, who witnessed the crash unfold, later told reporters his immediate thought was, "Somebody just died." The red truck, he said, was traveling at a high rate of speed when everyone else was stopped. The driver didn't hit his brakes, didn't try to slow down. He just went full force into the back of another truck, crushing two other cars. The impact was catastrophic. The semi-truck slammed into the rear of a stopped SUV, triggering a violent chain reaction involving 8 vehicles total, 4 semi-trucks and 4 passenger cars. One passenger vehicle exploded on impact, sending a massive fireball into the air that could be seen for miles. Metal twisted, glass shattered, and flames engulfed multiple vehicles as the sound of crunching steel echoed across the freeway. 3 people were pronounced dead at the scene. Among the victims were Clarence Nelson, an assistant basketball coach at Pomona High School, and his wife, Lisa Nelson. The Nelsons were beloved members of their community, known for their dedication to students and their warmth. Pomona High School later posted a tribute on social media, "R.I.P. Coach Nelson and his wife." The identity of the third victim was not immediately released to the public. 4 additional victims were rushed to local hospitals with serious injuries. One survivor was so severely injured that she required major surgeries every single day for approximately a week following the crash. The physical and emotional toll on survivors and their families would prove immense and enduring. All westbound lanes of the Interstate 10, except for 2 fast-track lanes, were closed for hours as emergency responders worked the scene. Traffic snarled for miles, but the delays were the least of anyone's concerns as investigators began piecing together what had caused such devastating loss of life. The driver of the Freightliner semi-truck was identified as 21-year-old Jashanpreet Singh of Yuba City, located in Northern California. Singh was arrested at the scene and initially charged with driving under the influence of drugs and vehicular manslaughter. Law enforcement sources confirmed that Singh was in the United States illegally, having entered the country from India in 2022. He had been released by immigration authorities and was living and working in California as an asylum seeker. The initial narrative suggested Singh had been under the influence of drugs at the time of the crash. California Highway Patrol Officer Joe Garcia stated that the semi-truck driver failed to come to a stop as traffic was slowing down. Eyewitness accounts painted a picture of reckless driving, a massive truck barreling forward at high speed into stopped traffic without any apparent attempt to brake or avoid collision. Singh was taken into custody and booked on charges of gross vehicular manslaughter while intoxicated and driving under the influence of a drug causing injury. The charges carried significant prison time if convicted, and the prosecution appeared confident in their case. But on October 31st, 2025, the San Bernardino County District Attorney's Office announced a significant development. Toxicology reports confirmed none of the substances tested were present in Singh's blood at the time of the crash. The initial DUI charge was dropped entirely. Singh was no longer accused of being under the influence of drugs or alcohol when he caused the deadly collision. On November 5, 2025, Singh appeared in a Rancho Cucamonga courtroom and pled not guilty to his revised charges, vehicular manslaughter with gross negligence and reckless driving. His defense attorney, Jason Tucker, with the San Bernardino County Public Defender's Office, characterized the crash as a tragic accident, not a crime. He argued that the absence of intoxication made Singh significantly less of a danger to the community and urged the judge to set bail. Tucker emphasized that Singh was just 21 years old, had no prior criminal record, and showed no indication of being a flight risk. He told the court, "This is an accident. It's a tragic accident, but it is an accident. It's not something that's done on purpose." The prosecution, however, pushed back forcefully. Deputy District Attorney Jamie Chimo argued that Singh's actions behind the wheel were not only reckless, but deadly. She pointed to evidence that Singh had seen the stopped and slowing traffic in front of him, but continued to drive anyway. 3 people died as a direct result of his actions, Chimo told the court, and many others were severely injured. The human toll was staggering and preventable. The prosecution also raised concerns about Singh's immigration status, suggesting his limited time in the United States made him a potential flight risk. The Department of Homeland Security had issued an immigration arrest detainer on Singh, identifying him as someone who had entered the country illegally. Judge Peel ultimately denied bail, ruling that Singh posed a potential risk to the community based on what the judge called reckless actions. Singh was remanded back into custody with a preliminary hearing scheduled for November 6, 2025. Beyond the criminal case, the crash sparked a broader controversy over licensing regulations and federal-state conflicts. According to Department of Motor Vehicles records, Singh did possess a valid commercial driver's license to operate a semi-truck at the time of the crash. But the question quickly became, should he have had that license at all? In June 2025, California issued Singh a restricted, non-domiciled commercial driver's license with a K restriction, limiting his driving to within state borders. As an asylum seeker, Singh was able to obtain this license through both state and federal processes that were in place at that time. He also possessed a federal work permit authorization valid through 2030. However, on September 26, 2025, just over a month before the deadly crash, those processes changed at the federal level. The Department of Homeland Security issued new regulations tightening licensing requirements for all non-U.S. citizens. The federal government paused all issuances of non-domiciled commercial driver's licenses under the new emergency rule. In October 2025, Singh turned 21 years old, and his K restriction was automatically removed, upgrading his license. But here's where the controversy erupted. Under the new federal rules implemented in September, Singh's license should have been denied or revoked because of his status as an asylum seeker. The Department of Transportation released what it called a bombshell report accusing California of violating federal law by allowing Singh to continue driving when he should have been disqualified. The report stated that California failed to enforce the emergency rule issued in September, creating a dangerous gap that allowed Singh to remain on the road. Governor Gavin Newsom's office strongly pushed back on those claims. A spokesperson stated, "The federal government approved and renewed this individual's federal employment authorization multiple times, which allowed him to obtain a commercial driver's license in accordance with federal law." California officials argued that Singh's licensing was proper under the regulations in effect when it was issued. Nevertheless, the Department of Transportation threatened to withhold nearly $40 million in funding for California if the state does not start complying with the new rules put in place since September. The clash between state and federal authorities added yet another layer of complexity to an already tragic case. For the families of the victims, the legal and bureaucratic battles offered little comfort. Clarence and Lisa Nelson were mourned by the Pomona High School community and beyond. California State Assemblywoman Blanca Pacheco, who represents Pomona, expressed her condolences, saying, "As a teacher, I know how a loss like this ripples through an entire school community. My heart goes out to their families, the Pomona Unified School District, and everyone mourning this tremendous loss." The survivors continued their painful recoveries, undergoing surgeries and facing long rehabilitation journeys. The psychological trauma of witnessing such horror would linger far beyond physical healing. As Singh's case moves through the criminal justice system, fundamental questions remain. Was this truly an accident, as the defense claims, or was it reckless disregard for human life, as prosecutors argue? Should Singh have been on the road at all, given the regulatory changes? And how can similar tragedies be prevented in the future? the answers will emerge through preliminary hearings, potential trials, and ongoing investigations. But for now, 3 families grieve irreplaceable losses, survivors struggle to rebuild shattered lives, and a community grapples with a tragedy that unfolded in seconds, but will echo for years to come.